what's important to this company is that we take whatever's been designed into that particular application or vehicle. We look at what's been done. Our testing validates what actually happens through that stock air box or that stock filter. And then we look for ways to improve any of the three attributes that are important to an air filter. The first one is airflow or pressure drop. The second one is its efficiency. In other words, what size particles of dirt does it stop? And the third one is its overall building up of dirt or its capacity.
When we run a dyno test, what we're looking to do is measure the performance of the vehicle, the total vehicle system, the engine and the drivetrain, and measure horsepower and torque. And the point of that is so that we can understand what changes in the intake tract do to the performance of the vehicle. To a driver, it makes a big difference if you have more horsepower, you have better engine response, a little bit more torque, and those things are the reasons why people want to buy a high-performance air filter. It's the most common reason.
Yeah,
the dynamometer allows us to start with a stock vehicle and do a baseline run and measure the performance of that vehicle, and then we can make changes, such as just simply dropping in a K&N air filter and measuring a before and after. And typically, with a drop-in air filter, we can measure a 1 to 2% difference in the power output of the engine by changing the air filter to a high-flow air filter.
Every intake kit that we develop is tested on our 3 chassis dynos. We have 1 2-wheel drive dyno, and we have 2 all-wheel drive dynos. And when we develop an intake kit, every car will be brought in. We will do a development prototype tube, heat shield, air filter, pretty much everything will be just a prototype. When we get the horsepower gains that we feel comfortable with, what we'll do is we'll bring in another 3 to 4 more vehicles to verify that the gains that we got in the first vehicle will be verified on the other 3 to 4 that we bring in. And then once we are happy with that, we will go into production, and that's where our guarantee on horsepower comes from.
We test our air filters on a flow bench because that's a great way to do comparative testing for how restrictive an air filter is. Those flow benches originally were designed to measure carburetor or intake manifold restriction, and they're used by most filter companies to test air filter performance. And they allow us to compare 2 air filters of the same type and measure the difference in airflow. The way a flow bench works is it measures the amount of restriction in the air filter at a particular flow rate. And flow bench, most typical setting for a flow bench is to flow the filter with 1.5 inches of water pressure drop. That's basically the amount of restriction that we target as just a test point. With that amount of restriction, we determine how much airflow we can flow through the filter and generate that much pressure drop. Higher flowing filter media will produce a lower pressure drop than a restrictive filter media.
So here at K&N we use the ISO 5011 filtration testing, which is a worldwide test. The measurements and everything are all done in the metric system. So again, to be able to compare a test that would maybe be done, across the world, to be able to compare the two tests, so you have an even playing field, so you're comparing apples to apples. There's 4 stages to the actual test itself. There's what they call a conditioning test, and then there's a restriction test, then there's an initial test, and then there's a cumulative test. And the conditioning test, what you're doing is you're conditioning the filter that you're testing along with the absolute filter, which is part of the test, to the room conditions. And the room conditions play a huge part in the testing because humidity is a major player in this, because anytime you have humidity, you add weight with water moisture. So the room is climately controlled. It all has to fall within a certain spec. It's actually monitored by an outside source while we're doing the test. So that way, if we seem to be going a little out of spec as I'm watching it, I can actually get them on the phone and we can make adjustments on it. The restriction part is a variable stage of different airflows on the filter that you're testing to see how the actual media performs at those different airflows, what the restriction on the filter is. The initial part of the test is where you're actually ingesting a certain amount of dust that's determined as you're figuring out the airflows for the test. And then the last part of the test is where you actually completely load the filter to its full capacity until it hits a certain amount of inches of water at the end of the test, and the testing is complete at that point.
The vibration stand we have here at K&N is very similar to the same one NASA uses. It is programmable in 3 different axes, clear to 6 Gs. One of the reasons we do the vibration testing is to check our suppliers' quality of their products or confirmation of new materials to K&N, clear to a complete assembly. A complete test on the vibration stand is 18 days long, at 20 hours a day, and the equivalence ratio is 27,000 miles in 20 hours. So if you do the math, it's 18 times 20 times 27 is 486,000 miles.
All of our testing actually helps us understand where the improvements can be made in that product. The other thing that it does is it validates that from year to year. If you bought a filter today, you would still be getting the same quality and performance that we built 2 or 3 years ago.
Hi, I'm Ivan with Discount Truck Accessories, and I hope you liked our video. We'd appreciate a thumbs up if you did by clicking the thumbs up button down there. If you want to join our channel, you can hit the subscribe button right here, and don't forget to click the email notification if you want to be notified of new videos when they come on. And right now, if you want to go to the product page where the rest of the information's on, click that link right down there.